Good morning. Good morning. Elmer Davis, an American broadcaster during World War II, once said, "This nation will remain the land of the free only so long as it is the home of the brave." Because of you, brave, courageous ladies and gentlemen, we all possess the most precious gift, freedom. It is through the efforts of teachers and mentors that we grow and learn. The dedication you have shown in continuing your service from the front lines and in wartime towards instilling a passion for public service into the hearts and minds of young men and women will never be forgotten. There is no institution on this world that commands such unwavering respect as the United States military, and there are no greater men and women to serve as the pillars of that institution than you. As superintendent of schools for the Russellville School District, I welcome you today. May God bless you, and may God bless the United States of America.
Good morning. I'm Ava McNeil. Will you please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Representing the Cyclone Theater, and we'll be performing the piece United. Over 40 million brave men and women since 1775 have risked their lives protecting this country and our freedom. Their families have gone months or even years without seeing their spouse, sibling, child, or parent. These are real letters from a little girl to her father during Vietnam, a man named Harold during World War II, Gary Canat during Vietnam, and Ralph Ide during World War II.
Dear Daddy, just writing to answer your letter we received today. Thanks to God you're doing fine. As for us, we're in the best of health.
Dear Mother and Dad, days in the Army are long, but the weeks go swiftly by. I received your letter and had intended to answer each, but some little thing was always coming up. Just today, I began to think how long it had been, and it startled me. Never again shall I postpone writing for so long.
Dear Maxie, I just don't want you getting too worried. Actually, I am pretty safe here. Dong Ha is a big base, and we don't have incoming that often. We're lucky where we have the office, too. We're at the bottom of a small hill, and all the rounds coming this way usually hit on the hill just past us. It's just weird to hear them going by. There's not much chance of this place being invaded because it's a pretty important place.
Dear Ma, Dad, and Sandy, here I am again with greetings and good wishes to you all. Sure appreciate all the swell letters from you and have been receiving them in good time. It was really good to taste your delicious cookies, Ma. You're still the best cook, as we all agree. The writing material and stamps were most welcome, and many thanks to all for the birthday greetings.
How's the job? How do you like washing your clothes on Sundays? Do you ever go out? As for news over here, not very much is happening, but Tia Dolores got a new car. It's a 1966 Chevrolet Impala. On the outside it's white, and on the inside it's black and has bucket seats. I think it's pretty. They plan to go to Ohio this summer.
The infantry may not be an ideal outfit, but it has some advantages. I have never been in better physical condition. It has made me more self-reliant, but also more conscious of my fellow soldiers. I'm securing a greater understanding of men. This will be an asset when I get out of the Army.
Dear Maxie, we put up mosquito nets over our cots today and not one day too soon. Tonight we had an invasion of bugs. It's nice to be able to sleep or to write a letter without fighting the bugs.
In answer to your letter of August 22nd, Dad, I'm sorry that I couldn't write you all about the things before you found out the truth from Maury's folks. As long as you know now that it was only a slight head wound and nothing more, it's okay by me. It was plenty close, but I was never out of the 18 straight days of action, nor in any hospital or rest camp. Too many fellows worse off than myself at the time, so I had it dressed the following day while eating my field ration.
Daddy, Junior is engaged with Mary, but Junior has to talk to Mary's father and mother. Tio Flavio put in a new telephone. Tio said that he doesn't get very many calls. He only goes in on Sundays. On one Sunday, he made $3, but I don't know how many calls he got.
I'm glad to read that Leo's finished his first year of high school and that he is working. How is everything at home? How is the store getting along? And your oil property in California? I hope everyone's health is good.
Dear Maxie, it feels good to be cleaner. I can't really get clean until I leave this place. I still feel like I've got dirt in my ears from the dirt the choppers blow up. Some of the big ones make so much wind that I feel like I'm going to fly. Not much longer. The end is in sight.
We all prayed in our own way every day while pinned down by enemy fire, moving ahead in foxholes, on patrol, etc. And my mind was thinking of home plenty of times. There's so much going on that you forget to get scared.
I hope to see you soon, Daddy. I love you with all of my heart. Love, your daughter.
Mom, tell Pa to go to the beaches or to the parks on Sunday and not work so hard. Money isn't everything, and millions of men in the Army would testify to that quotation. Your loving son, Harold.
I'll write to you again tomorrow, Maxie. I love you. Your husband, Gary.
Never worry about me, and get plenty of sleep and a lot of Midwestern fresh air. See you all again via letter, and keep smiling. Best of things, and lots of love to you all. Ralph.
Although there is the pain of separation for these families, there is one thing that keeps them strong, the promise of reunion. These are Sarah Atwood and Chelsea Speecher's experiences.
I cried on my mother's lap the night before my wedding day. My brother wasn't going to be able to make it, and I didn't know how I was going to celebrate one of the most important events of my life without my best friend.
When my son was 2, I was deployed to Jordan for 6 months. We FaceTimed every other day, but I longed for the moment I would see him again in person.
My family was taking pictures of me in the backyard a few hours before the ceremony. Everybody was acting so weird and anxious, so I thought there was something that had went wrong they weren't telling me about.
Then, the day came for me to come home. Since it was my first deployment, I was extremely worried about how he would react to seeing me.
As I was looking at the camera, I felt a hand tap on my shoulder. I turned around to see my brother. It was the happiest moment of my life. He managed to go on leave for 1 day, so he would be able to watch me walk down the aisle.
The first 2 people I saw walking towards me in the airport were my husband and my son holding his hand. When my son saw me, he started yelling, "Mommy, Mommy!" I ran to hug him. It was the first time I got to hug him in 6 months. It was the best feeling ever.
The years, decades, centuries change,
The people talking change.
The name of the war changes.
but the sentiment and love for family, friends, and country never change.
Together, we are united. Soldiers in uniform.
Family and friends waiting back at home.
Together, we are united.
Good morning. I'm Daniel Espinoza, cadet captain. Cadet captain. Today I'm going to introduce Representative Trevor Drown. Representative Trevor Drown is serving his 2nd term in Arkansas House of Representatives. He represents District 68, which includes a portion of Pope and Van Buren County. For the 91st General Assembly, Representative Trevor Drown on the House State Agencies and Governmental Affairs Committee, where he is a chair of the Elections Permanent Subcommittee. He also serves on the House Judiciary Committee and Joint Performance Review. He earned a bachelor's degree in Spanish from Arkansas Tech University. He also attended the John F. Kennedy Special Warfare Center in schools. Representative Drown is a father of 2 and currently resides in Dover with his wife, Kara. Ladies and gentlemen, Representative Trevor Drown.
Wow, thank you for that. You know, it's great to be back here to my alma mater. It's been 30 years since I was getting trouble in the halls here at this school. Never thinking for once that I would be able to accomplish half of what I've been involved in since leaving this institution. Before I get started today, I want to thank those that are the reason we're all sitting here. If you're a veteran, please raise your hand. Thank each and every one of you for your service. And another group that I always recognize, because I can tell you in regards to our military families, to our veterans, our families are just as involved in the service to this nation as we veterans are. If you are a family member, and that is students, everybody, please raise your hand. We want to thank you for your sacrifice also. So when I sit around, I've given many of these speeches. Matter of fact, I'm giving 3 of these in the next week. And something has been popping up constantly. And it all started about around the 2010 time frame when I first got into politics. Started thinking about it. Started running for office. Started doing these things as a man who had served his country. And running against a lot of people who had never even taken that step. It was something that troubled me, regardless of the reason. I heard it again recently in my run for office here over this last year, and it's the phrase, being a veteran doesn't matter. And I take that serious because for one, these men and women that raise their hand down here, every single one of them, everything I've done in my military career, and I just re-enlisted for another 5 years 2 days ago, but everything I've done has been because I'm trying to measure up to what they've given me, trying to give back, hoping that the next generation will see that take my service and think, you know what, I'm going to try to measure up to that guy. So I thought, a little history lesson today might be good. I hope that it sinks in a little bit. So I'm going to start back at World War I. Eventually, we'll make it all the way back to 1775. But in World War I, April 6, 1917, it seemed like all of Europe decided they were going to declare war on one another. Few things came of that, one of those being the Selective Service Act of 1917. And many of you may not know what that is, but if you're about to be 18 years old, you have to register for selective service in case we ever have to have a draft again, in case your country ever needs you. It started out everyone from 21 to 30 years old, and it was expanded to 18 to 45 years old. In World War I, 2 million American men, at the time, women didn't serve in the military, in those capacities that they do today. 2 million men volunteered. 2.8 million young people, just like yourselves, just like those of you 17 and 18 years old, were drafted into the military. The war ended November the 11th, 1918. And then on December the 7th, 1941, the Japanese bombed Pearl Harbor. Non-combatants, we weren't at war. 2,335 Americans killed, 1,143 wounded. We declared war on the Japanese on December the 8th, and Germany declared war on us. Next thing you know, we're fighting in the Pacific and we're fighting in Europe. 10 million military men and women served in the military. Just over 6.1 million were drafted, and just over 3.8 million volunteered. The war ended in 1945, and then on June 25th, 1950, the North Koreans invaded South Korea. 5,720 men and women served during the Korean War. A few years later, we began sending advisors to Vietnam, and in 1964, we had a major troop buildup. 648,000 troops were drafted that served in the country. Of that, 648,000 troops were drafted. 2,061,918 volunteered. Soon after that, the Vietnam War ended in 75. The draft ended in 1973. But in 2016, there was a proposal put in front of the Senate proposing that women age 18 register for selective service. It was tabled, it was shelved, it didn't go through. Think about that. Think about the fact that not only you young men sitting here today that have to register for selective service, but just think if that had gone through. Now, every one of you young women sitting here today, when you turn 18, would have had to have registered for selective service in case your country needed you in the future. A few years later, Desert Shield, Desert Storm kicked off, 1990. Saddam Hussein invaded Kuwait. 650,000 service members. At this point, it's all volunteer. Nobody's getting drafted. As of 1973, we moved into an all-volunteer military. A few years later, on 9/11/2001 to present, 2,977 civilians were killed and 6,000 were injured in attacks all across the eastern part of the United States and in the skies over our country. You know what those people did wrong that day? Nothing. They went to work. They were brothers, sisters, fathers, mothers. They were uncles, aunts. They did nothing wrong but enjoy the freedoms or what they thought would be, or not knowing that that would be their last day in a free country. Up to date, 2.7 million have served in the war in Afghanistan and Iraq. In all, Since World War I, 40,333,557 men and women have served this great nation in time of war and in time of peace. And I can tell you today, as I'm standing here speaking, we have young men and women that are in harm's way in places that you have no idea they're even there. I've served in those places. 2 years ago, I was sent to Central Africa, middle of the Civil War. Why? It just so happened they needed a Green Beret who had an understanding of political dynamics to deal with the ambassador and the embassy side of it while the guys were hunting a war criminal in the jungle. Since the American Revolution, that is 1775, 44,592,128 men and women have served in the United States military. This next statement, I was giving a speech a few years ago. Of those 44,592,128, 1.6 million have given their lives in defense of freedom for this great nation. 1.6 million. Think about that. I heard somebody in the crowd say when I said that number, I don't know if I believe that. Well, all you have to do is go to the VA website and look it up. Those numbers are there. You add them up, and that's what we come up to. The interesting part of that 1.6 million, that 44,592,128 I mentioned that had served, were willing to give their lives. Every single one of them. Because the day they swore in, the day they signed that piece of paper, was the day they said that I will give my life to defend the freedom of this nation. Folks, we are 242 years old as a nation. Without our men and women in uniform, standing up, defending our freedoms, everything that you can think of that you do on a day-to-day basis that you take for granted is because of those men and women. And the day that our men and women decide that it's not worth standing up and volunteering for is the day that they reinstitute the draft. And young men and women like you, sitting in high school, about to turn 18, the young men could very well go into the lottery to be drafted in the United States military. So I will ask you, do you think being a veteran matters? Because it is because of our veterans that we are who we are, and we will stay that way. So with that being said, I was asked if I would talk to you a little bit about what the military has done for me. And I can tell you, when I was a student at Russellville High School, I was about as much an underachiever as you could get. I was more interested in hunting, fishing, doing anything other than academics. You know, it might have had something to do with the fact that I had a learning disability when I was a kid. I don't know, dyslexia. But there's one thing I knew that I wanted to do when I left, and that was join the United States military. It's a family. My family has given generation after generation after generation. As I bet if you've talked to these veterans out here, you'll find that their families have served generation after generation after generation. So the one thing I can tell you is at least I mastered the art of reading, writing, and arithmetic when I left Russellville High School, because that's about the most important thing that you can walk away from here with is mastering the basics. 2 weeks after I graduated high school, I was on a plane to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri. On my 18th birthday, we went to the gas chamber. Happy birthday to me. They made everybody sing happy birthday while we're in there getting gassed with tear gas. But I became a crew chief, a mechanic on a helicopter. 3 years later, I moved into military intelligence here in Russellville. But the defining moment of my life in the military was in 1996, and I found a way to go to sniper school. And when I was in sniper school, and let me tell you something, never taken physics in my life, but when they lay that equation out that's about this long to figure out distance to targets, you really figure out that there is something to all that algebra and physics and everything else that you resisted learning when you were in high school. But there were 3 Green Berets in my class. 2 of them pulled me aside on graduation day and said, "You need to think about joining us." I'd never thought about that in my life. That's the nation's elite. In my eyes, even getting to talk to those guys was a treat that changed my life, pushed me to go back to college, pick up a degree in Spanish because I was terrified of language school. We have to speak 2 languages in Spanish. They hit the Twin Towers. The next month, I tried out for Special Forces, was accepted to training. 2003, I graduated as a weapons sergeant. 2 years later, was sent back to the intelligence course. And that was the first time that I had someone walk up to me and 9 others and put us in a group and say, we have a problem in a country. We want to know how to fix it. We want to know how to approach it. We want to know who the problem is and how we're going to eliminate it. We worked hard around the clock for a week. We briefed the mission. We walked away. A year later, I watched it unfold on the news exactly the way we told them to. Could not believe that much responsibility was laid upon my shoulders, just like it is every one of these veterans. I was hooked. Became an Air Force officer, resigned my commission, went back to Special Forces. Been overseas 3 times since 2010. Like I was just telling you about Central Africa, I got to go take part in the hunting of a war criminal that's involved in modern-day slavery, child soldiers, and everything imaginable that we just sit back and just are totally cannot believe that this even takes place in our world. I've seen the world at its worst, as they have. I know what we have here. It has given me an understanding as to who we are as a nation and who we do not want to be. The military gave me discipline. It gave me structure. It gave me all the things I needed to take a look at what the world as it is, to deal in fact, to put emotion in check, and to make decisions based on that. So for those of you young men and women who are thinking about joining the military, I strongly would recommend it. There are those of you sitting here today, you need the military. It will help you it will set you on a path in life that will lead to one success after another. And then you'll get to the age that I am now, of 48 years old. You're looking at the world like a giant candy store and realizing that you can never have it all. That's what it gives to you. You go from an underachiever to somebody who can't get enough. So I leave you with that. Once again, thank you all for allowing me to come here and speak today. I hope you learned something today. Thank all you veterans and family members again for everything that you've done for this great nation. God bless America, and have a great day.
Sacrifice. Hi, my name is Cadet Skylar Price, and today I would like to recognize the veterans of the Russellville School District. Jessica Boudra, Army. Norman Carnahan, Navy. Terry Cobb, Army. Bob Calling, Navy. Daniel Connerly, Army. Clarence Fuller, Army. Paul Gray, Army. Todd Gray, Army. Les Griffiths, Marines. Cindy Harvey, Marines. Ben Janil, Air Force and National Guard. Daniel Kime, Navy. Megan Lewis, Army. Shelby Lewis, Army. Dale McAnulty, Marines. Rebecca McMullen, Army. Lisa O'Brien, Air Force. Cindy Perez, Air Force. John Smith, Marines. Seth Stewart, Marines and Army National Guard. Jeff Stinson, Army. Brian Swim, Air Force. Charity Talon, Army. Sky Thompson, Army. Clay Whitting, Army. Jason Williams, Army. Kelly Young, Air Force.
Over hill, over dale, we will hit the dusty trail, and those caissons go rolling along. In and out, hear them shout, counter marching all about, and those caissons go rolling along. For it's high, high, he in the field artillery. Count out your numbers loud and strong. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, and wherever you go, you will always know that those caissons go rolling along. Anchors away, my boys, anchors fight our country's battles in the air, on land and sea. First we fight for rights and freedom, and to keep our honor clean. We are proud to claim the title of United States Marines. Army, Navy, Coast Guard, Air Force, the United States
Thank you, Russellville High School Cyclone Choir. Great job this morning. My name is Rick Smith. I'm the event coordinator for the Pope County Russellville Veterans Day Parade, which I'm excited to announce and remind you begins at 4 o'clock this afternoon from the intersection of Jonesboro and Main. That's the Kroger parking lot area. It goes all the way through Main Street, Russellville. We'd like to invite all of you to come and fill the sidelines of Main Street with lots of patriotism and enthusiasm and appreciation for the men and women who have served our country today. It's going to be a great day for the weather-wise. We want all of you to come and help us celebrate what has been said is the largest parade in the state of Arkansas for Veterans Day. We're excited about that. It's also my privilege to introduce to you our next presenter. I have known him for a long, long time. I don't think there's anybody in the Russellville, River Valley area that has any deeper compassion for veterans and a greater commitment in his heart and life to making sure that they have the kind of acknowledgement and recognition and honor and appreciation. I have appreciated all of his years of service to families through Humphrey Funeral Service, especially those who've buried their loved ones who have served our country. But also about 20 years ago, he helped to form an organization called the Salute to Freedom Task Force that has been the major impetus over these many years of providing so many of these Veterans Day parades and activity events. And so, I want you to make welcome to the platform Mr. Jim Bob Humphrey.
Wow, it is good to be here this morning. Superintendent and Mary Beth, well done. I have heard about this event, oh, this thing has wheels, for several years, but it has far surpassed what I had known and expected, and just congratulations to you for a tremendous event that's really inspiring. Every class that graduates from Russellville High School thinks that they are the best. They think they're the smartest ever come along, the most talented. But what I have seen this morning is that that talent has continued to increase since when I graduated in 1974. And I just congratulate all of you students on the outstanding work that you're doing here, the academics, the choir. Every piece of this ceremony is just outstanding. It makes me very proud to be a part of this community. This morning, students, when you woke up and you had the freedom to come to this school and to learn, and you had the opportunity in a completely unrestricted environment to make your life choices, to go to church where you want to or not to go to church, to be a part of an organization, to participate in any event that you choose, to listen to the music you want to listen to, as strange as I think it is, to wear your purple hair. All of those kinds of freedoms and many, many more are because of these men and women. Because in a society where you have a restrictive environment, such as Germany during World War II, you don't have choices like that. And we don't have time to go into all of that, so we'll skip that. But our gratitude needs to be at a very high level for these men and women who've served in the United States Armed Forces. So it's my privilege this morning, as a part of this ceremony, to present something very special called challenge coins. And for young people who don't know what that is a medallion about the size of a silver dollar. There's a lot of esprit de corps. Sometimes commanders will have their own coin, which they will present to other soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. I am told also it commemorates deployments. I have heard a rumor that when 3 soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines gather at a bar, that everyone puts their challenge coin on the bar, and whoever doesn't have their coin pays for the first round. I don't know if that's true. It's probably not. We won't go there. But these challenge coins this morning are presented in honor. A group of civilians who are interested and passionate about honoring veterans, have been minted especially for our World War II veterans in commemoration of their service in 3 theaters. And then we'll be presenting the Korean veterans, their challenge coin, and then finally our Vietnam veterans challenge coin. If you are a World War II veteran, will you please stand? And to be recognized, Major Todd Gray and Sergeant Sandlin will be presenting these coins. They are, will you remain standing? World War II guy, Harvey, Dr. Young, I hate to have just, there you go, that's okay. They are our fathers, our grandfathers, and your students' great-grandfathers. They flew B-17s. They manned 30 caliber and 50 caliber machine guns. They grew up on family farms all across the United States, and at the age of 17 and 18 and 19 years old, they were called upon to train hard and then to deploy halfway around the world, not, as Stephen Ambrose says, not to conquer, but to liberate. They are our heroes, and they literally saved the world. Thank you, our World War II veterans and heroes. Will our Korean War veterans please stand? I know I met at least one. There you go. I want you to notice right here that you have a man who stood twice, World War II and Korea, in service in both of those wars. The Korean War, these men, for the most part, were the little brothers of the World War II soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. Their brothers went to war when they were 12 and 13 and 14 and 15 years old, and they were itching for a fight, and they got it in 1950 on the other side of the world. They fought in places like the battle at Pusan, the Marines at Coterie, the Chosin Reservoir, and they held the line at the 38th parallel. They also continued to serve in what we called the Cold War. And I'd like to acknowledge the Coast Guard, because I think their motto applies to all of our military services in a significant way. Their motto is Semper Paratus, which means always ready. And I want to say in particular to our students right here who are wearing all this green, thank you for your service and for what you're doing and for your future service to our country. Semper Paratus, that's what you're doing right now. You're training to be ready. Fortunately, we are not actively deploying large numbers of soldiers to a theater of war right now, but that is always potentially on the horizon, and you are training for that kind of service. And additionally, in addition to that, our National Guard service people are constantly in training missions to prepare for service to our nation in times of distress, such as tornadoes and hurricanes and those things. Finally, I'd like to recognize our Vietnam veterans. Will you please stand? These men and women are my veterans. They are my generation's veterans. They served, as did their fathers and their grandfathers, with honor and distinction. However, unlike their older brothers and fathers, they did not receive the kind of welcome home that they deserved and that their fathers and grandfathers received. In fact, these veterans, when they returned home, were told by their commanding officers, "Don't wear your uniforms." It was a time of great unrest in our country. They were spit on. They were dispersion was cast upon them. They were not made to feel welcome. They were not appreciated for their service. So it is my honor this morning to recognize these soldiers, sailors, airmen, and Marines. Thank you for your service to our country. And welcome home to a hero's welcome. In closing this morning, there are two people I would like to recognize. The first one is Dr. Russ Hall. He is the Grand Marshal of our Veterans Day Parade this afternoon. Dr. Hall, will you stand, please? And also, will you come forward? This is not like coming forward to church. It's different. Come down here, please. He's very modest. Dr. Hall is a retired chiropractor. He served 2 years in Vietnam, flew the C-123 platform with the ranch hands. He's a Vietnam veteran and an outstanding citizen in this community. And he'll be recognized this afternoon as he rides, I think, in Steve Smith's Jeep right here. I don't know if he's going to try to man that 50 cal or not. But Dr. Here we go. It's my honor, Dr. Hall, to present you with this plaque, which has all 3 of these coins in it, and thank you for your service to our country. He said, "Now, I don't want people taking my picture." And I said, "Well, I'll try to hold it to a minimum." Finally, I'd like to recognize one more individual. Anytime you put on an event like this, it is a great deal of work. And when I first talked to Mary Beth Cox just a few weeks ago at this event, I could tell she is a fireball of energy. So I'd also like to make this presentation to her, if she would come up on the stage, a person that you know very well as your assistant principal at Russellville High School, who makes the principal's job easier, and when I was here, who used to detain me occasionally because my hair was too long. But so it's my privilege to present to you, Mary Beth, this display of coins for your office. Thank you so much for your work. Let's give her a big round of applause. Thank you very much for the opportunity to present today. Have a great day. God bless America.
My name is Major Gray, and I have the distinct honor to be in charge of all these fine cadets here. I'll make this short and sweet. I'd like to say thank you to all those who have served before me. Thank you to all those who have served with me. And thank you to all you who will serve after me. God bless and Godspeed. Thank you for today's event. Thank you for the MPV, I think, the guys who bring the vehicles up, Master Sergeant Stinson's brothers, thank you for doing that for us. Thank you, Mary Beth, and thank you for everything. Appreciate your time. Students, we're going to dismiss you to fourth period. Third. I was going to say just cut out for the day, but she said no. So. Third period, gentlemen in the center audience, I salute you. Thank you so much. God bless, and you are dismissed.